All right, ladies and gentlemen, what I want to do is take this equation, which is a quadratic in vertex form, and I want to show you how to convert it to a quadratic equation in standard form. Now, thankfully for a problem like this, the actual process is rather simple. However, there are some mistakes that students will make, and typically this comes with looking at this in the binomial squared. That's where a lot of students are going to make a mistake. But all we need to do, actually, when we have something in vertex form to convert it to standard form, is just to go ahead and expand that. So the x plus 3 squared, that's where the big mistake for a lot of students will make. Because some students, not all, probably not you, but some students will go ahead and say x plus 3 squared is an x squared plus 3 squared. That is not a rule, so please don't do that. Remember, x plus 3 squared simply just means x plus 3 times an x plus 3, right? So a lot of times students will confuse that with like the distributive property and the rules of exponents, but that is actually not a property at all. So just remember, anytime you have a quantity squared, that is going to be that quantity multiplied by itself. So in this case, now we just need to simply apply distributive property, or some students remember this as FOIL, whatever may be the case. So we're going to have a x squared, x times x is x squared, x times 3 is going to be a 3x, 3 times x is going to be a 3x, and 3 times 3 is going to be a 9. I don't really need to work this out, but sometimes I don't like rushing through everything because it's really important for you guys to see that these middle terms are like terms. So therefore, we can combine this to a x squared plus 6x plus 9. So the first step when I'm going from vertex form to standard form is to expand my x plus 3 quantity squared. Okay, so now that we have done that, unfortunately, we have to kind of do it again. We have to apply the distributive property one more time. And so again, here comes another mistake that students made. Notice how I preserved the parenthesis here, because what this says is x plus 3 quantity squared times 6 plus 3. So we have to make sure we preserve that parenthesis here because 6 is being multiplied by this whole quantity. It's not just being multiplied by an x squared. And here's kind of like a simple example here. If I, over here, if I had like 3 times an x plus 3, remember that is 3 times x and a 3 times 3. That does not equal a 3x plus 3. Like if you just drop the parentheses, it would look like that, right? So don't do that. Don't do that. Remember, when you have a term or an expression outside the parentheses, everything has to multiply by everything. So this negative 6 needs to be multiplied by the x squared, this positive 6x, and the positive 9. But since the 5 is not inside the parentheses, we don't need to do that. And now, ladies and gentlemen, our last thing is just to go ahead and combine those out. I don't think that's a negative 54. I multiplied wrong. I was wondering, I'm like, I don't remember that answer. That is a 54. So therefore, now we can go ahead and add these. Remember, that's a negative 54 plus 5. So therefore, that's going to give us a negative 49.